We continue with the market followers strategy. Now here for the followers, it becomes much more simpler and easier, as in the market there is a leader, there is a challenger, and then the follower. So here these followers, these companies who are the followers, they play very safe. The pioneers or the challengers, the pioneers come with the new set of attributes, new set of products in the market. Okay, they have spent a huge amount on their research and development wing to come up with a new product, on the distribution channels, on advertising and promotion, on making the customers aware about the product. The challenger seeks its own market share by entering after the pioneers. The challengers, they observe what is the reaction of the customers, what is the reaction of the total market, and if necessary, make some changes in the pioneers and enter. Now, what the followers do? Followers just observe these initiators, pioneers, that is leaders, as well as the challengers, and then enter. So here they get a easy platter of product portfolio ready for them. They need to just imitate or copy the ideas and enter. So here, uh, the innovator bears the expense of developing new product, getting into distribution, bears the risk of entering into the market. For followers, it is a very easy go. There is, as far as the finance is considered, they have do not have to invest much, and now they have quite a good experience and idea about the pros and cons of product performance in the market. So here, the follower can achieve higher profits because it did not bear any expenses as far as the innovativeness part is considered, or investments in research and development is considered. So many companies prefer to follow rather than challenge the market leader. Now here, the opportunities for the product differentiation, they are, and image differentiation, they are very low because you are just copying the idea or imitating and entering. The service quality is also at par with the leaders or with the challengers. Now here the price sensitivity is very high because somewhere you are in line with the leader and the challenger. The price sensitivity matters a lot at this stage. Many times the price war erupts due to cutthroat competition in the market. Now many of the firms try to grab each other's customers here. Now a market follower must hold current customers and win a fair share of new customers. The follower is a major target of attack by challengers. It must it must keep its manufacturing costs low and its product quality on the average side and the service is higher. It also simultaneously has to think about entering into the new market as the company moves ahead. Now, here there are four strategies which these followers can think of. The first one is the counterfeiter strategy, second is the cloner strategy, third is the imitator strategy, and fourth one is the adapter strategy. So, for followers usually think of these four strategies. Now, the counterfeiter duplicates the leader's product and package and sells it. Now, here this is a simple strategy where the reader's product, their ideas, their promotional strategy, everything is copied. They are packaged in a new form. so that nobody knows what is inside it, and then market it. Now the next is the cloner strategy. As we say, clones exist. Similarly here, the company tries to form the clone of the leader's products, name and packaging with slight variations. So with the very small variations, they think of introducing the product in the market. Many of the time you might see that specifically the products where the price is not a constraint, that is the lower end category products with a less price, where the price is on the lower side, you will find that many a times the names, the text would be same with a bit of variation of one letter here and there. Especially if you see the FMCG category, this works, and even the pharmaceutical industries, they follow this type of strategy. The imitator copies some things from the leader, but maintains differentiation in terms of packaging, advertising, pricing, and so on. So here, uh, just they take the ideas from the leader, but they try to see to it that there is some differentiation offered from their side as far as the value is considered, adding value to the product is considered, advertising strategy is considered, the pricing is considered. So the leader also doesn't mind the imitator as long as it doesn't attack them aggressively or bother their market share here. Now the adapter takes the leader's products and adapts or improves them. So here, if we see the parent product is adapted and some variation of flanker products is added to them. These adapters, they might choose to sell the products in the different markets. They may identify some of the pockets, and there they introduced where the leader does not exist. There these followers try to penetrate into the market and grab the market share. Now the next part is market niche here. So here, an alternative to being a follower in the large market. So uh, entering into the large market with the cutthroat competition and fighting with the or struggling with the leader, the follower, the challenger. Some of the companies, they prefer to be a leader in a small market. Now we have small market in terms of maybe the target customers or with respect to particular area or product portfolio. Smaller firms, they avoid competition with the larger firms. They better focus on their product portfolio and try to cater to the needs of these few customers. Now, here the companies can think of keeping the cost down by developing and producing the product by bringing something new in it. Some differentiation strategy is used by them. So here, maybe something unique is offered, and also such customers are identified whose needs are unique, or maybe their needs are well served by the existing product portfolio of the leaders or challengers or followers. And these left out clients are tapped by these makers. That's why we say it's a small market with few customers, but here the company can gain profitability through this customization or giving special values to these customers. Now here they can have three tasks like creating the niches, expanding them, and protecting them. But while doing this, there is one risk associated. Since they have a very narrow market. If a competitor enters into their zone, then they may lose this business to the competitor. So here they have to have some specialization and monopoly with reference to the offerings. Now there are various specialist roles which are open to this businesses, like end user specialist. The firm realizes in serving one type of end customers. Like maybe a company is there which might be selling a software, okay, and no other firm is selling such type of software where the maybe the program is very complicated or something, or it requires skill, and even the customers are very few in the market, those who require that particular software. So this can be a end user specialist which are catered by these firms, or vertical level specialist where the firm specializes at some vertical level of production distribution value chain. Like for example, a copper firm is there which may concentrate on producing raw copper components or finished copper products. So we can take into consideration the industrial products here, more applicability to industrial products also. The firm concentrates on selling to either small, medium, or large customers who are neglected by the majority of the players. The firm may think of catering to the customers only with reference to certain locality, region, or area in the world. The firm carries or produces only one product line or product. Maybe if the firm is specialized in microscopes, some laboratory equipments, so they just cater to those customers. Or in case of services offerings, the firm offers one or more services not available from other firms. So here they have their own differentiation strategy with reference to any of the attributes of marketing mix. And this is with reference to the follower. So next is the uh, part is the competitive advantage. Now, how the companies, we have discussed so much of things, like we have discussed the declining strategy, the stages of PLC. Now, with reference to all this, how the competitive advantage can be gained by an organization by using this multi-tool option. That is what it means. Maybe a company may have a single point of advantage, or it can have more than single set of skills which are which gains a competitive advantage in this competitive market, in the competition where there is a cutthroat competition. So any organization will be able to create a long list of its resources, but some of these will be more useful as compared to the others in creating competitive advantages. Now here the three aspects are considered in this aspect, that is contribution to creating customer value. Now here the company has to take into consideration whether any resource contribute to the value addition or creating value for the customers, whether the firm has any specialty which will add to increasing the value of the offering. Now, how does the company think of value creation? Maybe they can think of directly attaching these values to the offerings, like the company may have the products with the superior technology. So nobody can beat the technology when they think this is the competitive advantage. Among the competitors, if a certain company is very much dominant as far as this area is considered with reference to technological innovations. Always they are introducing new products with the innovation in technology. Then naturally it is bound to happen that they are going to have a upper edge in the market. That is here they are creating need for the customers. They are realizing the gap and offering the product to the market. Similarly, better service. Now here, in terms of people, well-trained people going out of the way and serving the customers becomes the value addition. Uh, the physical evidence, okay, comfort zone enjoyed by the customers, providing them that comfort zone again becomes a competitive advantage for the customers. The simplifying of the process as far as the offering is considered, where the customer is not bothered much. Customer always feels convenient and comfortable. If the manufacturer or the service provider is not bothering them much, and quick access is there to the offerings, to the services, and the customer is totally satisfied. Meaningful brand differentiation is attached to this value proposition. Now, the resources that contribute to these benefits are the technology deployed. Just now I said, if the company spends more of its revenues on R&D, research and development, trying to come up with the new technological innovations with reference to the product itself, with reference to the packaging, the increasing the aesthetic value, the medical benefit, the taste preferences of the customers, it will always have an upper hand in the market. If the company has skilled and motivated personnel, it adds to the value, to the brand name and reputation of the organization. So this is with reference to creating value for customers directly, which is visible by the customers as well as the competitors. Now the other resources are indirect influence or indirect impact, where the competitors really don't understand what is the mix and match the company is using to gain the customers' confidence and trust. For example, if the company is, for example, if the company thinks of having the effective cost control measures, which are not directly related to customers as such, but by including this aspect of cost control, there is a possibility of decreasing the final price of the product. If the company is going to achieve economies of the scale and it thinks of passing on the margins to the intermediaries and the customers, then this also is a value creation, which directly the competitors they cannot see it. Or if you have better procedures included in the service offerings, which are not visible, especially those which appeal to customer psychology. It's very difficult to measure the psychological aspect for the companies, for the competitors. USP is one of the important thing, that is a unique selling proposition. Now this uniqueness may be with respect to content of the offering, the components of the offering, the packaging of the offering, the benefit sought by the customers, anything it can be. The color variations. offered, the new ingredients included, which the customers might have not thought of. So every now and then the company thinks of having some USP to succeed in the market. The next is the integration part. Now, when a company thinks of integration as far as the back-end and forward linkages are considered, the smooth flow of processes. Now, here integration can be thought of as a mix of the backward process as well as the forward process. Once you understand what are the expectations of the client, what are the expectations of the customers, the linkages become much more superfined. The organization is able to tap them very easily. Now, it depends upon individual organizations. How do they integrate this? Like when the production department takes into consideration of about the manufacturing of the product, the finance is there, the marketing department is there. They are responsible for their own roles. Everybody is catering, somewhere is connected to the customers. Yeah. So this is a integrated approach. Now differentiation goes in hand with the USP. A slight variation or differentiation matters a lot for the customers. If you take the automobile industry, you will find differentiation. If you see today the handsets, you will find differentiation is the key. If we take into consideration the industrial goods, the equipment manufacturers, the machines, the customization or a slight differentiation plays a very major role here. Similarly, the quality aspect also matters. Quality is a reflection of brand. Quality is a reflection of technology. It reflects the pricing. Very important because price is somewhere correlated with the quality of the offering, with the brand. The warranty is associated with the quality. The satisfaction is associated with the quality. And that's why this quality also plays a very important role in gaining competitive advantage for the organizations. Now one can think of having service as a competitive advantage. We have already discussed the basis of services previously. On what basis the company thinks of differentiation, whether on the basis of product innovation, pricing attribute, distribution channels, promotional aspects, or in case of services, the people, their personnel are very strong, the physical evidence is very strong, or the processes are very simpler, which satisfy the customers. Now, what customer expects in addition to core or generic product is very important here while offering the service part. What customers would value over and above what is expected from their side is very important. Here, the core product is very important. Okay, that serves the basic need of the customer, but the outer rings are there, which are connected to this core basic offering. So the companies try to see to it that they have some new outer rings. That is, we have seen the level of product from the customer's point of view. If you remember, the basic product which satisfied the need of the customers. The augmentation part, the expected part. Expected is what? Features, minimum bare features which the customer expects. Augmentation, something extra added to the basic benefit. and potential. That is, in future, the company thinks of building up these outer rings. So this was the last point with reference to the competitive advantage. Now, we move ahead with the marketing metrics for marketing performance. So here, the companies, they always analyze. Now, here we can say it's, when we say it's metrics, it's measurement, where the company stands, how the products or offerings are performing. So here, this is taken into consideration. So various models of identifying the gaps in the market and bridging tools are identified. So today we'll start with the BCG matrix. I think you have studied this BCG matrix in the third semester strategic management course. Whether you have studied this. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you understood from this? This is very important part. Okay. So what is BCG? What is the full form of this BCG? See, some of the concepts, they are repeated because they are more of prime importance.
Boston Consulting Group, ma'am.
Yes, BCG is the Boston Consulting Group. So here, this BCG basically is with reference to what? It is with reference to a strategic business unit. Now here, when a company initially when it starts with a single unit or a single product line. Now, what are these strategic business units? What are SBUs? I think from the first semester you are studying this.
What, ma'am? Can you repeat?
Strategic business units.
No. What was the question, ma'am?
What do you mean by strategic business units? This is basic, no? SBUs.
SBUs having their own vision and direction, basically.
They are having their own
Vision and direction, which operates separately unit, which is
what
an
do what do you,
important part of the company.
what do you mean by this? Understand by this rather.
From SBU.
Yes.
It's, as I said, ma'am, it's a separate division, we can say, or unit of the company.
Yes.
It is also
Now
important part.
suppose you have here. See, now it depends upon the company. Suppose if the company has more product lines, okay.
Yeah.
Take an example of
LG
soap
we can take.
industry, okay, or toothpaste soap for simplicity, okay. You may have even the automobile sector. So if you have 2-3 products, okay, like soaps, I said there are different brands with different ingredients. They are classified different product lines, okay. Or you can say automobile, which caters to the mid segment and to the higher segment. So here, if you have 2 product lines, so these product lines individually become one strategic business unit who are responsible for revenue generation. If you take an example of a college, okay, you have the graduation college, you have the post graduation college, you have the engineering college, the management college. So each and everybody is responsible and serve as a responsibility center. You might have studied in EPM, enterprise performance management, isn't it? Responsibility center. Maybe Sunil sir might have taught you there. So here, these strategic business units, these individual units are responsible for the selling and revenue generation. Or you may have a single company, okay, a single corporate umbrella which caters to different products and different segments. Like you may have the corporate giants like Godrej, Tata's, Reliance, etc. Okay, they have their own BCG matrix. So there are two options here, two possibilities here. The companies take this into consideration for planning, for allocation of resources basically. Why we are speaking in terms of strategic business units? Because these companies, those who are operating under the corporate banner, okay, they need to resource, they need to share the resources. The decision regarding these are centralized. Like you have the Reliance operating into n number of different varied industries. All of them, they are responsible for their own profit generation. They have their own strategic units. These serve as strategic units. One might be performing very well, while against that the other is performing a bit on the lower side. So here the resources are pooled from the well performing sector to the other sector. So that is what it means. Now, whether you have understood this basic, why this BCG matrix is there, why does it exist? What is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
basic motive of it? Now, here we say that SBU, it's a single business or collection of related businesses that can be planned separately from the rest of the company. It has its own set of competitors and it has a manager who is responsible for its strategic planning and profit performance. Okay, now the Boston Consultancy Group, it's a leading management consulting firm who developed and popularized this matrix. And that's why we say the name is BCG matrix. Now here in this you will see that at one end is a market growth rate and the other side is a relative market share. So here uh, this matrix is with reference to gaining the market share and the growth. It is on the log scale. Relative market share is drawn on the log scale with the equidistances are there here, which represent the percentages. Now here, if you see this growth share matrix, there are four cells, each indicating a different type of business. Now first, if you take this question marks, the question marks are the businesses that operate in the high growth markets as it is representing here, but low relative market share. So here high growth markets are there, but the market share is less. Now most of the companies, they start as a question marks to enter a high growth market in which there is already a market leader. It requires a lot of cash. These question marks, they require a lot of cash because the company has to spend money on the plant, the equipment, and personnel to keep up with the fast growing market. And because it's somewhere wants to overtake the leader. So we say these are the challengers. Those who are in the question mark, no, they are mostly the challengers who are struggling and they are in competition with the leaders. Now the question mark is accurate here because the company has to think hard about whether to keep pouring money into the business since it is eating up majority of the resources or it requires investments at this stage, and that's why we say it's a question mark. So how much to pour money into this business, whether we are getting that much returns, that is a question. Now here, um, as just now I spoke of the companies which are into diversified businesses. Okay, if we take a certain company which is into pharmaceuticals, which is into petroleum industry, which is into FMCG category, maybe in pharmaceuticals industries, in real estate, in insurance sector, too many diversified businesses are there. And you have these businesses in this question marks. Most out of suppose eight, if five are in the question marks, okay, and three are the leaders, that is stars. These stars are producing the income or the profits, and they are absorbed by these question marks. Okay, so what is happening here? The question mark is increasing, then there is a problem. Now here it's better the company thinks of withdrawing out of these five question marks. It may sustain for some time and then take a decision. The company might be better off investing more cash in one or two businesses of this and just liquidate the others. So for the companies, they cannot have more strategic business units into this question mark stage. Now coming to the next part is stars. Now if the question mark up to certain extent question mark is fine. If the question mark business is successful, now how do you mark a thin line between these question marks and stars? When these question marks, okay, will stop requiring the cash, more amount of cash, then it becomes a star. It starts uh, giving you more revenues here. Then it enters into the star phase. Now, a star is a market leader in the high growth market. A star does not produce necessarily positive cash flow for the company, but it gains more high growth in the market. The company must spend substantial funds to keep up with high market growth and fight off competitors. Now, here the stars enjoy the position of leaders, but at the same time, they receive the cutthroat competition from the challengers as well as followers. So these stars have to struggle with these both of the other uh, competitors, other set of competitors. They just have to spend substantial funds to keep up with the market growth and keep these competitors away. Now, here imagine if the company out of eight, just now I spoke, if the company has five stars, okay, and only two question marks, then these five stars are creating lot of revenues, profits, and they are supporting the two strategic business units which are into this question marks. So this equation is justified or viable for the sustainable for the organizations. If the company does not have more of the stars and more of this question marks, then there is a problem. Now the next is the cash cows. Now when the market's annual growth rate falls to less than 10%, the star becomes cash cows if it still has a largest relative market share. A cash cow produces lot of cash for the company. The company does not have to finance capacity expansion because market's growth rate has slowed down. The business is the market leader. It enjoys economies of scale and higher profit margins here. Now, the companies uses this cash flow of businesses uh, to pay its bills, also to support the question marks. These cash cows, more the cash cows, more is better for the companies because it is uh, getting more cash, which is supporting the question mark. If the company has just one or two cash cows, then it is vulnerable for the organizations. If the cash cow starts losing relative market share, it becomes problematic for the companies to pump in more money into the business. If this happens, then these cash cows will turn into dogs. Now, what are the dogs? Dogs are businesses that have weak market shares in low growth markets. They typically generate low profits or losses. Now, here, even having too many dogs is a problem for the companies. Now, the company should consider whether it is holding on to do the businesses here. It can have a turnaround strategy also. Now, for the company, four strategies can be pursued here. One is build, second is hold, third one is harvest, and fourth one is divest. We have already seen this uh, when we were studying the strategies part. So here see, these all are interlinked. If you understand the product life cycle concept, okay, with the strategies, that strategies, somewhere they are linked. So if you consider the build part, in build, the objective is to increase the market share. Even the companies compromise short-term earnings to achieve this objective if necessary. Now, building is appropriate for question marks, whose market share must grow if they want to become the stars. If they want to enter into stars, their market share should be increased. Whole strategy. Here the objective is to preserve market share. Now, this strategy is more appropriate for strong cash cows if they are continually yielding a positive cash flow. Now, harvest here, the objective is to increase short-term cash flow, irrespective of the long-term effect. Now, it involves a decision to withdraw from business by implementing a program of continuous cost retrenchment. Now, harvesting generally involves eliminating R&D expenditures, not replacing the physical plant as it wears out, not replacing salespeople, reducing advertisement expenditures, and so on. Here, basic the hope is to reduce costs at a faster rate than any potential drop in sales. The next is the divest. Here, the objective is to sell or liquidate the business resources. Otherwise, these resources can be used somewhere else. In some other business, they can use. Now, this strategy is more appropriate for dogs or question marks that are acting as a drag on a company's profits. So, where the question marks come to a low stage where they require more of the cash and the revenues to a very extended time frame, then better the company thinks of divesting it, liquidating it. Now, one more thing here, as the time passes, okay, as more competitors enter, as the products become mature, the market becomes mature, the positions of this growth share matrix, they tend to change. It's a cycle. So every now and then the businesses changes. Suppose at one stage, if the insurance business is performing very well, maybe the other business is going down. FMCG. Maybe it was a question mark, it entered stars. Stars entered again question mark. So here this is a rotational type. Companies have to always keep an eye on this. So when we say we had discussed the planning part, okay, with respect to marketing as well as the businesses, generalized, okay, general management, planning, organizing, directing, controlling, okay. So this is the controlling part where the company keeps a control of businesses, and where it comes to know that somewhere the things are going beyond the control measures, then they think of coming up with different strategies or framing more appropriate strategies. Now here, this is one strategy, okay, BCG matrix, which is very popular. Second one is, Now here this strategy is generalized as well as from the marketing perspective. This Ansoff's matrix is very much specific to the marketing strategy. Now, Ansoff had developed this metrics. Again, we have a matrix here with reference to market penetration strategy. We have studied this in the growth stage when we were studying the strategies with reference to segmentation as well as the PLC above in the fourth chapter. So here these are more appropriate for the growth strategies where the company tries to grab the market share in the growth phase. So it is known as the Ansoff's product market expansion grid. Ansoff mentioned 4 types of strategies here: market penetration strategy, market development strategy, product development strategy, and diversification strategy. If you take the first strategy, market penetration strategy, here increasing sales for the existing offerings while at the same time trying to maintain current margins of profitability on sales is the objective. Here one can think of having the new users, that is converting, in the previous session we had discussed this, converting the non-users to the users, spreading the awareness of the existence of product, increasing the frequency of use, promoting new applications of the product for the existing users. Now, a share gain can be based on a tactical actions such as advertising, trade allowances, promotions, price reductions. Any of these strategies they inculcate to penetrate into the market. Here, basically, the company wants to acquire or grab the market share, and that's why whatever are the possible options the company thinks of. Increase in the usage or frequency is less likely to affect the customers that much. So here there are 3 options. One thing is increase the frequency of the offering. So here if you see most of the advertisement, they also give this message of increasing the use of offering for better benefits. Many of the retail outlets today come up with the loyalty cards. For sake of repeat customers, maybe when the customer next again comes, you can just tell the customer that these are the points. Even for the, these strategies are used for your credit cards also. They also use this strategy. Now the quantity used in each application can be increased. So more applications of a single product or offering can be thought of. New applications can be promoted. New usages. Now here while communicating to the customers, there is a reminder for the increase in the frequency of use or with reference to more applications of a single offering. One can think of shifting from occasional use to the regular use. Now here many times the incentives are offered. There are numerous competitions or sales promotion, especially if you see the chocolates or Coca-Cola had come with the option. You will see that for the sake of the sales promotion, or they had in some competitions, the collections, you send it to the company and you will get some maybe a tour package, maybe some incentives. So this is just the stick and the carrot approach. They show the carrots and they want to increase the sales. Of course, these are genuine also. Otherwise, it will affect the brand of the organization, of the product. Next is the market development strategy. That is finding new markets here. Now, this does not guarantee long-term or short-term profitability, but it guarantees the economies of the scale in producing for the market or in supplying the market which will contribute to profitability. Now here the companies think of new markets where they think of duplicating the business operations with some expertise, maybe technical or even with the help of the plant and operations facility, whatever they have, they can include the new market here. Also, geographical expansion can be thought of. That is entering into the pockets where there are no competitors, where they have not tapped the market with the change in the package, with the change in the brand name also. The company might think of entering the global market here. Now, a firm can also grow by reaching into new segments here. One can think of tapping new segments. The non-user can be an attractive target base here. New markets can be reached up by opening additional distribution channels. So when Dell introduced the PCs, they came up with the direct marketing strategy. They were the innovators which used this strategy. Similarly, in the kids segment, First Cry was one of the pioneers where they used the brick and click model. The companies can think of pulling additional age categories in the populations, like those products which are not actually suited for that particular age, but still they are including the people. Okay, there. Now here, especially for those categories, if you think of bicycles, okay, bicycles basically they are targeted for children, but they can stretch to the elders on the theme of health and fitness. So considering variety of segmentation is possible as far as this option is considered. Now, what would be the variables considered? It depends upon the individual organization, individual companies, what variables it includes in the offering. The next is the product development strategy. That is introduction of new products. Always new products having or adding new products will impact the sales growth definitely if the product clicks of course. Now this new product is defined in a numerous ways, like it may refer to physical entity, the contents. It is somewhere related to customer benefits. Now here, product if the product innovation is considered, the change in or adding to the physical entities that might make the product line. So basically, if the your company is changing the basic content, entering a new flanker product or offering with a new technology based product, then it is from the business perspective. If it is from the market perspective, then a new or revised set of customer perceptions about a particular cluster of benefits is taken into consideration. That is from the customer point of view. Additions to existing product lines and improvements of existing product may also be thought of as new product. So here, from the convenience or comfortability view of customers, these new offerings are given to the customers or presented to the customers. Now, the last strategy here is the diversification strategy. It involves moving simultaneously into new products and new markets. Now, diversifying may relate to the related product category or non-related product category. You will see most of the FMCG companies, like they are manufacturing the toothpaste, shampoos, soaps, detergents, all of them they are uh, in the same line, like FMCG categories. Or the company prefers, usually here the company prefers to enter into related markets as they can use the existing resources up to the maximum extent, maximum level. Here the opportunities for growth and revitalization are much more when the company enters into the related category of products. When the companies enter into non-related areas, diversified, they should be able to improve the return on investment. They should gain the synergies by sharing out the assets or skills across businesses. Now, this is with reference to internal expansion. When the company takes into consideration any acquisition or merger, they need to combine these two sets of complementary skills: brandings, marketing skills, research and development, the capacity building has to be worked out. The company has to examine each asset for excess capacity and ascertain whether it is underutilized or overutilized. The brand name, marketing skills, manufacturing skills, research and development, and the risk of the related diversification has to be taken into account. The company has to manage and allocate cash flows. So here again the cash flows from related and non-related businesses, they have to be managed. Usually the company thinks of entering into the businesses where it predicts the high return on investments. Now again here, while entering into non-related areas, the company has to think about the entry strategies, how it's going to enter into the market, whether it will be under the same brand or a different brand, whether it's going for some acquisition or a joint venture with some other company where they can share the resources. So these are some of the strategic decisions which the company has to think about. Now here today we discuss two metrics. One is the BCG matrix and second one is the Ansop's matrix. In the next session we will take up we will have a look at some other metrics. Today we will stop here. Okay. Okay, Mohit. Hello. Hello. Mohit.
Yes, ma'am.
Now stop the recording.
Okay, ma'am.